Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo, February 22nd, 2022. And I just got to say, man, some of your guys' comments are just absolutely beautiful, just gorgeous. Just love some of the things you guys share with one another. Super awesome. Sue, that was great, what you shared about Jesus Urbina. And yeah, this is Jesus Urbina's week of memorial. Coming up this Saturday on the 26th at 11 o'clock. We're really excited about that memorial and just being there together and thinking of our good friends. So welcome to the Devo. If you are interested in any of the archives of these devotions, you could always go to my YouTube channel where we are live right now. I can check right now. Yeah, we are live right there too. But you could always go there and check out all the archives of the past Devos that have been done. Quite a bit have been done. We've been doing this, or I've been doing this since COVID kind of had us on a lockdown a couple years back. Already a couple years back. Can you believe that? We're almost in March of 2022. So 2 years ago. Yeah, it's already been 2 years since that crazy year that we all went through. And here we are, continuing our Devos. So we're in Exodus chapter 20 today. Want to welcome everybody, including my mother, into the Devo comment corner. And want to wish you guys a great day. Looks like it's going to be maybe a little windy in our area. But to my brother and I's joy, there's a lot of snow that's going to be accumulated in the mountains all over the western part of the United States. And that affects us because we like to go and put on these wooden things on our feet and go down the hill. So, yeah, we enjoy skiing. So, for us, that means good stuff. So, for those people who have to dig all the snow? I'm not sure. So, chapter 20. Then God gave all the people these instructions. Chapter 20 is a chapter of the Bible that you want to memorize in the sense that you want to underline or you want to circle. This is one of the big chapters, again, of the Bible. This is the Ten Commandments. Now, remember, this is like a wedding. Yahweh and the people of Israel coming together. God says to them, hey, are you going to be my people? Are you going to be my treasure? And are you going to listen to me? Are you going to obey me? And they say, we will. We do. And so here we see the stipulations, if you will, of the covenant. I am the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. Man, I'm the Redeemer. I'm the one who redeemed you. Isn't that cool? God is our Redeemer. We could always remember that this morning. And we never get bored of thinking about God as being our Redeemer. What did God buy you out of? What did God get you out of? What did God save you from? There's a lot of things that we think of, I think of, a lot of times they're lifestyle things. Like God saved me out of this. God saved me out of that. But you know what God saved me from? The wrath of the Father. That's what Christ has done. He has saved you and I from the wrath of a holy God, of the Father. And I thank God for that. What am I saved from? I'm saved from going before a holy God, the Creator, the Holy One, in my sin. That's what I'm saved from. And man, that is vital. Who wants to stand before a perfect being in your imperfection? That doesn't sound good at all. And, we don't like that. And we don't like being around that kind of perfection. We're convicted by it. We're ashamed. All those things. But Jesus has saved us from the wrath of the Father. He is our Redeemer. Super cool. So it says here that I'm the one who's done this. Now here we see the covenant, if you will, what the vows are. You must not have any other gods before me. And so this is the agreement of this covenant. We must not have any other gods, and gods come in all shape and sizes. And I have to think about that this morning. I don't want to make anything something above the creator, right? The one who is spirit. God is spirit. That's what Jesus said. I don't want anything to come in my mind that has that puts something in front of God. I have to put God first. You must have no other gods before me. So God says to the people, hey, you can't worship me and worship something else. That's not going to happen. And in the New Testament, we get these passages that say, I am a jealous God. And some people go, wow, that's so weird. God's jealous. And, that's so interesting. That doesn't sound too perfect. But remember how God looks at the people of Israel and how this covenant is like a wedding. It's like a marriage covenant. And I hope when you're getting married that you don't want your spouse to like go to another person, right? That would be really weird. That would be kind of a bummer for sure, right? Yeah, I'm married to you, and yeah, I said vows to you, but see you later, No, you must have no other gods before me. And you must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. So no idols. Nothing that we would make, that we would look to as our God, that we would look to as our satisfaction, our everything, that we would give our adoration and worship over to it. There's to be nothing like that. And so we are to not have some kind of image of God that doesn't reflect the true nature of God. And so no distortions, of what God is like. Now, Jesus has come to reveal the Father. That's what it says in the book of John. So Jesus has come to give us the revelation. You might have heard that term, the revelation of the Father. He who has seen me has seen the Father. Yeah, so interesting, right? Sue says we're saved from so much. Jesus for saving me. Yeah. Tamara says, or say vows lightly. Yeah, sometimes we do say vows kind of lightly, right? But this is pretty hardcore vow. And it says, you must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who does not tolerate your affection for any other God. So there you see that New Testament term jealousy here where it's rooted in. It's rooted in chapter 20 of Exodus. So the book of James, I think, is where I'm referring to that New Testament book that talks about God being a jealous God, but it's right here, Exodus 20. For I lay the sins of the parents upon their children, the entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generation of those who reject me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations of those who love me and obey my commands. And so God lays out that there is consequences for our moving away from the covenant. And it seems to be something that is quite generational, meaning there is an effect on our generations for us turning away from God, right? So if I turn away from God, it affects my family, and then it affects the family's family, the progeny down the line. Now notice, just as God has, God is not to be, in a sense, trifled with, the covenant is not to be trifled with, that there's consequences to the covenant, to those who reject me, right? Notice the specific idea here. It's those who reject God. So it's not God saying, hey, no matter what, if you sin, your next generation's done and your next generation's done. It's those who reject, right? Those who reject. And we have to understand that, hey, if God wouldn't judge sin, then God wouldn't be a righteous God. I want God to judge sin. I want heaven to be a place of perfection. I don't want heaven to be a place of a bunch of sinners. That sounds a lot like earth. I want heaven to be something that's actually perfected. And I realize that in order to achieve that, there has to be some kind of judgment on sin that has to take place. But it says he lavishes love for 1,000 of generations on those who love me and obey. So you see the idea. There's a fourth generation, and then there's 1,000 generations. Kind of the idea, you get the idea that God's love is going to conquer. Isn't that interesting? Where you see even the children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me, 3 and 4, right? But then you see 1,000 generations of those who love me. It's kind of like God says, but you know what, man? My grace abounds. Where sin abounds, what abounds even more? Grace abounds even more. God will, his love will win. And I love that. And knowing that, some people get really into these things like generational curses and all this kind of stuff. And I just think this really simply, I just think like, hey, we're all from Adam and Eve. And we all have been generationally unable to conquer sin on our own. We all need this wonderful mercy and unfailing love to 1,000 generations on those who love him and keep the commands of God. God is faithful, and he's faithful to his people, and he's faithful and merciful. And he plucks out of the fire in generations those who come from really rough backgrounds, rough generations. We see people coming out of those generations, some of them coming out of those rough areas, saved and changed, and God's mercy upon them radically. And I just love that. Every person is from Adam and Eve. We all have been infected with sin. We all, but the question every generation has to ask is, am I going to reject, or am I going to come to God? What kind of God am I going to serve? Am I going to make idols today? Am I not going to make idols today? And so that's really what that one's about, is that idea of make yourself no idol. That there's consequences for idolatry. And this world feels it every day, the consequences of idolatry. So you must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. So not misusing the name of God, right? The Lord will not let you go unpunished. So this is, remember, to the people of Israel, to the 12 tribes. And it's something between them and the Lord at Mount Sinai. And this third one is, you don't misuse the name of the Lord. Don't misuse Yahweh's name, right? And that's important. And just like, would you want to misuse your mom's name? Or do you want to misuse your spouse's name? No. Or your children's name? No. It becomes precious. It becomes something that's like sacred to you. So remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. For 6 days each week, used for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God, and on that day no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, or any foreigners living among you. So don't even let the ox get out there and shred, right? Give a day of rest, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them. So you see this pattern, just as God created the earth, so there's a creation to the week, and there's a pattern to the week. But on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. It's a special day. Saturday was to be a special, and is to be a special day for Israel, for the people of Israel. And it's for them to live in this way so that they would be a light to the world. So when the world looked at them and said, why do you guys rest on the seventh day? They would say, well, guess what? God, our God, the true and living God, created the world in 7 days. And on the seventh day, the 6 days, and on the seventh day, he rested. they were to be a light to the world, kind of an evangelical tool to the planet. So when people wanted to understand the revelation of God, they would look to Israel, and Israel would reflect the revelation of God, the truths of God, if you will, the story, the narrative of God. And so they were to walk as like a play, like walk out, the life of God. Doesn't that sound like us too? We're to walk out the life of Christ. Just as Christ bore with one another's burdens, so we are to bear one another's burdens. Just as he was one who had compassion, we are to have compassion. We are to walk in that way of Jesus, with the grace that he gives us today. Walk our faith in God. That's right. Walk our faith in God. So many neat pictures here you get in this 10 Commandments. And this is something on the whole where a lot of people don't even know the 10 Commandments too well and the principles behind them. But for this Devo, I hope that we're really starting to grab some of these cool kind of principles. So that fourth commandment of worshiping on the Sabbath is very important because it really is a reflection of God and God's creation. And in a sense, just think of everybody on the earth lived to reflect God and to point people back to God. And they lived their life in a way that would point people back to the true and living God instead of themselves, instead of their own things, their own desires, wants, wishes. Everything's about them, right? Such a huge narcissistic, sociopathic world we're in, right? But instead we're trying to live in a way that would reflect the Lord. So honor your father and mother. And so now we get into what's called the second tablet of the law. So instead of really the first four that are focused upward towards the Lord, now we get in the ones that kind of are about our horizontal relationships. And so as we live out the first four in our life, right? And we can just go over that this morning, hey, God, I have no other gods before me. You are the one I worship. I'm not going to make any idols. Anything in my life that I like and I adore, I'm gonna come to you and thank you for it, and I'm gonna give you glory for it. You're my God. You're the one who is better than anything. Any pleasure I have, any joy I have in anything is a reflection of a greater joy, and that is in you. So no idols before. I'm not going to misuse your name. I'm going to see you as precious today. That's how I want to walk with you, Lord. I want to see your name, the name that is above all names, that at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. I want to uphold that name, Jesus. I don't want to misuse that name, Jesus. Joshua, right? That's the name, Joshua in Hebrew. Yahshua. God is salvation. I don't want to misuse that God is salvation, right? That's what Jesus' name means. And then remembering the Sabbath, having my life be in a pattern of God, being a reflection of God. So you can see how all that is very upward between me and the Lord. So getting my mind right. And if everybody in a day on the planet did that, if we all focused upward in those four ways, wow, man, we would really do much better in these other laws that we're going to read. So look at the other ones that were given to Israel. Honor your father and mother. Hey, that sounds pretty good. Then you will live a long, full life in the land your God is giving you. So Sue says, this is a reason with my screen name, I am very careful what I say. Amen. Right on, Sue. So honor your father and mother. First one that has to deal with people, right? Honor. Living in a way, and I always like to think of honoring mom and dad in this way. Living in a way that honors them. Sometimes a mom and dad might not agree with what you're doing. They might want you to go to this school instead of that school. They might want you to marry this person instead of that person. They might want you to do this or that. But if you walk in a way that's honoring God, truly honoring God, that is the best way to honor your parents. No matter what decisions you make, if you make those decisions under the Lord and with the Lord's instructions, you are honoring your mom and dad. That's the most honoring thing you could do, is walk with the Lord a right way. So you must not murder. That sounds pretty clear, right? You must not murder. Don't murder people, right? Israel, don't murder people. You must not commit adultery. Now, this must have penetrated, a guy like Moses. Moses did murder. And so, man, it must have been like, whoa, this is serious. I'm entering into this covenant with Yahweh, and I must not murder. You must not commit adultery. So when you're in marriage, in the Bible presumes monogamous heterosexual marriage. That's what it presumes, right? Adam and Eve. One man, one woman for life. So the vow, the covenant, is you must not commit adultery. That's there. You must not move away from your spouse and into the lives of another person. You must not steal. I must not take what is someone else's. You must not testify falsely against your neighbor. So bearing false witness, especially lying, I think of like lying to gain. You lie, but you lie to gain, so you falsely testify so that you're in good standing with people. Now, when Jesus was put on the cross, before he was put on the cross, he went through a court trial, and people bore false testimony. And this happens all the time. And really challenges us on our loyalty, right? Am I going to be more concerned about getting one up, or am I really concerned about trusting God with my life? And if I'm not trusting God, then I might bear false testimony against someone so I can get one up, if you will. Kind of that heart of envy. If you look up the word envy, you'll see, that's a rough one, right? Wanting ill will towards your neighbor for your own gain, right? Envious of them. You don't like what they have. You wish you had what they had. And you wish they didn't have it. So you must not covet, right? Desiring your neighbor's house. Now we get into coveting, right? That desiring, that lustfulness, right? Of your neighbor's house. You must not lust your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, boat, RV, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor, right? We should not lust after what our neighbor has, because lust will just continue to go and go and go until it finds a place to grab a hold to. So we have to always deal with our lusts in our life, our covetousness. And covetousness is ruling and reigning very well on the planet today. This is something that we all have to deal with as human beings. Is this idea we have, of course, images before us day in and day out, and of things to buy, and things for our homes, and to better this and to better that, and that faucet isn't that great. I want a new faucet. I want one that's like this, and I want one that's like that, and it's just a constant. And sometimes it can be overwhelming, the covetousness that's in us, where we see what someone else has and we want it. We have to learn to be content, not complacent, but content. And there's a difference between complacency and contentment. My mom says we all have sinned. That's right. Every one of us. Hopefully when we're reading through this, we're kind of going, man, guess what? I've broken these commandments. So when the people heard the thunder and loud blast of the ram's horn, it says, and when they saw the flashes of lightning and the smoke billowing on the mountain, they stood at a distance with fear. And they said to Moses, you speak to us. We will listen, but don't let God speak directly to us or we will die. Absolute terror of God. Now, this is why we always say as Christians that if God were to show up on the scene, it'd be very fearful, because when you are not covered by the perfect sacrifice of Jesus Christ before a holy God, you are left before a perfect and holy God in your sinful attitudes. And especially, just think how scary it must have been of hearing the 10 Commandments being laid out, knowing that you've broken them before a holy God, knowing that you are kind of, in a sense, filleted open, like you are exposed, right? You feel utterly naked before the true and living God. And it quite a scary thing. So they say, Moses, you talk to us, but man, we don't want to approach, And so it says, don't be afraid, Moses answered them, for God will come in this way to test you, and so that you fear him and will keep you from sinning. And all the people stood at a distance. Moses approached the dark cloud where God was. So Moses saw it as, man, if I draw closer to God, it's going to help me. He's going to help me. But the people were afraid to step close to God. They were afraid of judgment. Moses got it, that understood that God wasn't against the people of Israel. He was for them, but he was going to be dwelling with them. He was going to make them a special treasure amongst all the people. How were they going to have this special treasure relationship? Well, with God being present with them. And so with God, a holy God being present with them, there needed to be they needed to understand who God is in his holiness. And so these commandments definitely reflect that. Now, I'm not going to go too much further. I just want to say this morning is that, when I read the 10 Commandments, it was so precious. And I was 17 years old when I read these for the first time. And when I read them, something really happened in my life and in my heart. And, there's a passage in the Psalms that say the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. And when I read these 10 Commandments, I really was undone. I really knew that if this was the true and living God, then there was something wrong with Bo. And that Bo needed saving. He needed redeeming. He needed something to make him better and make him whole and make him right. Because I knew I was just like the people of Israel, that I just wanted to run. I just wanted to run away from a holy God. I didn't want to be around him. I didn't want to have to deal with my yuck, my sin, my shame, those kind of things. And I just wanted to run. And I wanted so badly to have the courage of Moses to draw close to God, knowing that God would cover me. I wanted to have that confidence that God was going to be there for me, just as Moses did. Moses saw the hand of God. He knew God was going to be there for him. And at this time in his life, he wanted to draw close to God. And what seems scary by drawing close to God, really what we find is amazing grace and comfort and mercy. And God's mercies are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. And so you see two people in two reactions to the 10 Commandments. You see Moses, who draws close, and I wanted to be that. And then you see the people of Israel that drew away, and I definitely was that, convicted by my sin. And, who are you this morning? Which one are you? Are you drawing close to God, knowing that the blood of Christ cleanses you from any sin and shame? Do you feel confident, in the work of Christ to redeem you by his blood? Or do you find yourself still shying away really from just coming before God and laying out, the transgressions that you have committed and you do commit in your life, knowing that Jesus taught us to pray, Father, forgive us our transgressions as we forgive those who transgress against us. So very cool. Love the 10 Commandments. There's so many good things. Remember, those first 4 are upward. The other 6 are outward. And if we work on those first 4, then we're probably going to see some good results in the next 6. So you guys have a great day, okay? You guys take care. Bless you. Bye-bye.